Getting to the point. Are you struggling to make your points clear to your listeners? And do you feel that you just beat around the bush without getting to the point? Every speech must have a general and specific purpose. A general purpose is to inform, to persuade, to entertain, or to inspire. A specific purpose is what you want the audience to do after listening to your speech. Once you have established your general and specific purposes, you will find it easier to get to the point. You will also have more confidence, which makes you more convincing, enthusiastic, and sincere. And of course, the better organized your point is, the more likely it is to achieve your purpose. And in this live stream session, we would like to welcome Miss Laurie. She will address the following points: how we can organize your points in a manner that best achieves your purposes and project sincerity, conviction, control, any nervousness you may feel. And another thing is, Miss Laurie is a national renowned author and coach in the field of corporate communication. Her expertise areas include one on one executive coaching, leadership training, presentation skills, conference coaching, women and communication. Miss Laurie is also a well-regarded by C-suite executives by her focused collaboration, quick results, and ability to coach leaders for success in front of a large audience, boards, and investors. Hello, Miss Gloria. Welcome you to EIY.
Hi, wonderful to see you on. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Now let's get into our point. The
Yeah,
first question is, why is this topic so important, Miss Laurie?
I've been working with so many different professionals from all kinds of fields, from architects to people who work in stores to scientists. And I would say the major theme that they want to work on is how to be clear and get their point across effectively and concisely.
Mm. And what were their problems that they want to get to their points directly and clearly?
Exactly. They sometimes struggle with how to talk about their expertise,
Mm,
using the right words, doing it in the right amount of time. The average amount of time it should take to make your main point might be 15 seconds or 20 seconds. Some of them are
mm,
talking to their bosses or to leaders, and the leaders want them to get to the point. You know,
mm,
they don't want it to take a year to understand what the major point is. And we call the major point a headline. The headline on should be about 15 words or less. And that's something, your audience members can think about. Try to say the main thing you want to say in about
mm,
15 words or less even.
mm. I see. So even though their English is a native language, but they're still struggling to get to the point. So the problem is not about the language.
That's a really interesting observation. I would
Mm,
say no. Whether my clients are born in the United States
yeah.
or speak English as a second language, it's still something that's a challenge. I think people really want to give a lot of information, but sometimes that gets in the way of being efficient.
Mm. I realized that one of the common reasons why people just beat around the bush just because they are talking about one point and then suddenly in their mind they just think about another point and they have another point to share so they redirect their conversation to that point without going back to the original point. So if we face with that challenge, what should we do in order to redirect our point to the original point, Miss Laurie?
Right. Well, it's a mindset. And what
Mm.
I do as a coach is teach technique. So
Yeah.
one way to look at it, I'll try to sort of draw it in the air,
Mm.
is think of the headline as a big X, and then think of the points that support the headline as smaller X's. So let's say one big X and then
Mm.
three little smaller ones. The reason I say three is the magic number.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be about the number of points that
Yeah.
people appreciate hearing. And you'll be even better if you say first, second, third. That really is very, very effective.
Mm. So using first, second, and third, that is the technique for us to redirect to our original point, right?
Right. Well, in your brain, you have to say, I've
Mm.
got to stay on track.
Mm.
And you have to catch yourself or have a colleague or a friend catch you if you
Mm.
go too far off track.
I
Now,
see.
if you feel you need to make another point, it's okay to say, uh,
Mm.
I thought of something else that I'd also like to share with you, but let your audience know.
Mm.
Maybe people who are listening can even practice. So if I said to you, where would you like to go on a vacation? So your big X is where you'd like to go, and then the
Yeah.
smaller X's are the reasons why.
Mm. I see. So you have a big point, then you have sub points to support to that big main point.
Exactly. It's
Ah,
exactly it. And you
yeah.
can practice on a regular basis. You can practice
Mm.
at work. You can practice, in your family.
Mm.
Just think of a topic. So the topic might be, what I did today that I accomplished. So that's my headline, and then I support that by telling you more about my main point.
I got you. That is an interesting technique. It means that we can ask ourselves some questions daily, and then we're gonna have a point. Then we have sub points to support to those points.
Yes, you can practice anytime. I always say to my clients, the good news about communication is you don't need special equipment. You don't have to go to a special place. You've got your equipment with you. You've
Yeah,
got your brain and you've got your mouth.
yeah, and we've been with that for
So
our whole lifetime.
yes, exactly. And I love it when I work with people who are new in their career, because
Mm,
learning techniques and strategy early in your
mm,
career will serve you well throughout your career.
yeah, I think that in order to get to the point, we may want to understand what is a point. So, can you please share with us what is a point in order to get to the point?
Well, the point that you want to make is your main idea. So if
Mm,
somebody, and you've got to eliminate others. So if I say to
yeah.
you, where would you like to go on a vacation? Well, maybe there's five places you want to go, but
Mm,
it happens fast. It's you got to make a
yeah.
commitment to something.
Yeah.
And your point really is, if you want somebody to remember where you stand, what your opinion or recommendation is, that's your main point. Now, there are times where you want to do the support first
Mm,
and then have your main point. And the reason for that is, if people don't agree with you,
mm,
you don't want, like if I say, everyone should wear
mm,
an orange shirt, and
mm,
you say, what is she saying?
mm,
You won't even listen to my support points. So I have
mm.
to build the case.
Oh, I
And
see. It
there's
means
Yeah, go
uh,
ahead.
it depends on your audience
Yes,
perception or analysis at that time that you're gonna have different kinds of approaches, right? We may want to have a direct approach by sharing the point and then you use sub points, or you may want to share your sub points first before you make a conclusion.
exactly.
Mm,
When you have information that people want to hear, so
mm,
if you say to me, Lori, do you
mm,
like being a speech coach? Well, you're not trying to trap me. You don't
mm,
disagree with me. I can get right to
mm,
the point and say, yes, I love so many things about being a speech coach. But if you
mm,
said, why do you want to be a speech coach? I
mm.
already know that your attitude isn't that positive about it. So I might want to build the case.
Yeah, I see. So it depends on whether you think that your audience can reject or accept your points.
Exactly.
Very, yeah, very great. Sometimes that I just feel that some speakers feel it. so difficult to summarize their points into one sentence or one phrase, Miss Laurie, because they have so many words, so many ideas in their mind. And I think that point should be succinct and concise, right? So that your listeners can remember. So in that case, how can we make it really concise and succinct?
Well, I think speaking is like any other skill. And one of the ways is to use written language. So I have my pad here. If I want to
Mm,
make a point to you, and I have my pen ready. So I like to teach my clients mind, paper,
mm,
mouth, meaning you're at a meeting.
mm,
You agree or disagree with something that somebody is saying. Well, make some notes. Write
mm.
down your headline
Yeah.
or write down the three support points. Not a whole script, but
Mm,
just the keywords. And you've got to practice. So one exercise, if you want to do it with me, that's good, or I
sure.
can demonstrate, is to test yourself, to ask yourself a question and try to answer it in 30 seconds or less, and
Mm,
then 15 seconds or less.
mm,
I like it when my clients are clock watchers. I like them to know what's a minute, what's 30 seconds, what's 20 seconds.
mm.
Even sometimes you only have 10 seconds to say something before someone jumps in.
I see. So that is very effective because sometimes we have many points, and now when we need to face with time pressure, we need to make it really
Right.
short and concise.
Right, right. Now, do you want to practice?
Sure, sure. Go ahead, Miss.
Okay, all right. So, what do you love about being a host of your show?
I
So,
like to learn about different perspectives of different speakers.
beautiful. So your main point is you love being a host of your show because you love
Yeah,
learning about different perspectives. Now you might want to support it.
yeah.
You could give an example. You could say, recently I interviewed so and so, or you could talk about how the benefit of different
Mm,
perspectives. So there's a lot of different directions you could go in with your sub point.
mm. I see. And do you want me to go now?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
give me 3 reasons why you love being a talk show host, or support the main reason, which is different perspectives.
Yeah. So the first reason is just like an example is today I met you and then you share with me two different approaches when you share a point, a direct approach or indirect approach. It
Yes,
depends on your audience perspective. That is the first example. And
thank you.
yesterday I interviewed one speaker. She told us about predator and prey in communication.
Ah,
So I think
interesting.
that is, yeah, that is a new concept of communicating your ideas. And she make a point that the nicer we are, the more aggressive your predator can be.
Ah, okay, that sounds like a pretty
Yeah,
interesting show. Good, good. So what
right.
you're doing is great, and you have a third one? You have so many to choose from, right?
Yeah, right, for sure. I can even pick another one. So the point, the third reason is that I can even use those examples to share with my learners at EIY. So I think that is the interesting thing about being a host in live stream session. Even though that we create for the community, but actually being a host helps me learn so many things about public speaking.
Beautiful. And that's a beautiful ending too. So sometimes you can have the headline, the big X,
Yeah.
and then you can back it up with your beautiful examples. And then you can have a concluding statement, like
Yeah.
another big X.
Yeah.
So that was round of applause. That was really good.
Thank you, Miss Laurie. Now I understand that. So at first we have a point, then you just ask yourself for three reasons
Yeah. Right.
to elaborate that point.
Right. And if you
Mm.
have an important situation, let's say a
Yeah.
job interview or
Mhm.
college interview,
Mhm.
you plan ahead. What questions are they going to ask me? And then
Mm.
you mind paper mouth. You get
Ah,
out your notebook and you plan ahead for the situation.
yeah, right. I just realized that recently the way we speak, that is also the way people perceive us.
Wow. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
one of my quotes, I've written a whole book of quotes, I've written a lot of things, and
Mm,
one of them is, no one can see your intellect or your character or your
mm,
soul. They only judge you by what you say, how
right.
you sound, and your visual image. We don't
Definitely.
have
Yeah.
any other ways of, we're not inside other people.
Right. We even didn't know that from the time that we started our speaking, then they already judged us.
Exactly. And maybe it is superficial, maybe it's not fair, but we don't have other ways
Mm,
of perceiving people. We perceive
mm,
them based on their communication behavior.
right. So that's why I see that it's really important if you know how to make the point and communicate well and influence others. Okay.
Yes.
The next point, let's talk about the next point, Miss Laurie. What do you think about this statement? If you cannot explain it clearly or simply, you don't understand it well enough.
Oh, that's kind of interesting. Well,
Mm,
I have a few reactions.
yeah,
One is that there is a difference between knowing something and being able to speak about something. So
yeah.
I work with a lot of people who are brilliant. Let's just say a scientist, someone who's studying a cure for cancer. Well, they're so brilliant, but
Mm,
they don't know how to put it in a simple way. That's a
mm,
different skill. And then
mm,
there's also people who may speak well, but they're not that knowledgeable. So there's all sorts of twists and turns
yeah,
related to that quote.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I see. So, do you think that we need to know how to explain it simply, then we can understand it, or we understand it first and then we can explain it simply?
Just because you understand it, unfortunately, doesn't mean you can explain it simply.
Mm,
It's,
I see.
what I'm saying is that's a separate skill.
Mm,
And that is what coaches help people with. I would say, now that you mention it, my major client is a person who is very well regarded in their field,
mm,
often a leader, and
mm,
they have difficulty with
mm,
expressing their vision, their knowledge, their expertise a particular audience.
mm.
Yeah.
I see. And how does it limit your career when we don't know how to articulate our points?
Well, the research indicates that the top three ingredients that help you to rise up in your career, number one is the ability to express ideas well, which
Mm,
is what we're talking about.
yeah.
And then, secondly, is your speech, how you sound, your speed, your ability to hold attention. And third, I don't know if it's still in third place, but listening skills, which
Mm.
is something that we coaches also help people with. It's a different show, though.
Okay, so now let's get to the final question of our interview today. How can we say in a way that to get what we want? How can we say to get what we want? That is the final question for you, Miss Laurie.
For influencing. Well, there's so much that goes into influence.
Yeah.
Do keep in mind there's you know, three parts
Mm,
to every way we present ourselves. There's the message itself, so
mm,
the structure, just like we were
yeah.
talking about before, indirect or direct, the words. Then there's how we sound, and then there's how our visual image. So that's
Mm,
why a lot of attention now with everybody doing virtual, a
mm,
lot of attention now is going into how people come across on camera. You look really,
mm,
really nice. Uh,
mm,
and how do you project your personality if you can't get to
mm,
know people in person the way you used to?
mm,
So, also with influence, keep in mind what I taught before, which is don't necessarily give your answer right away. See if you
mm,
can get people to buy in as you go along. So if I say something like, You know what I realized? Everyone who uses a pen like this is promoted within a year. And I
Mm,
just found out that there's a discount on these pens down at the local store. Now, see, all along, the people listening are saying, oh, oh. And that's
mm,
exactly what you want when you persuade. You persuade piece by piece.
I see. I heard that when we persuade someone, we don't really focus on what we offer, but actually, what we focus on is how they can get the values. What is the values that your audience can get? What is the
Yes.
problem?
So focusing on benefit, what's
Mm,
the benefit to them? You do want to be audience centered, listener centered. You want to think about, well, I think my topic's important, but what's
mm,
the benefit to people listening?
mm,
Like on your shows,
mm,
you emphasize that the benefit is that it'll help your career, it'll
mm,
help your confidence.
mm,
All those things are very, very, very important to get people to want to listen to you.
mm. I see. Very interesting. Now, what is your final message to our listeners today? They are watching you, and you would like to
Oh,
share with them.
I'll say 4 words. Think mind over mouth. In other
Mm,
words, have the mindset that how you communicate is going to make a big difference, a big positive difference. So it's worth it to put the time into learning, to reading, to studying, and observing very good speakers. And what do you like about them? What do they do well?
mm, I see. I totally agree with you, Miss Laurie, because I believe that the majority of what I have achieved up to now because of communication. I know how to speak and I know how to influence people that makes me become successful in my career. And
Beautiful.
I'm
And it might be good for people to hear that it's not something that's overnight. It's like anything else.
yeah,
You've worked at it, right?
mm, right. I've been
Me
working
too.
on it. Yeah, for such a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm training a new coach, a young
Mm,
coach. And she said, "How did you learn all this stuff?" I said, "Over many decades."
yeah,
That's what my answer
right.
was.
Yeah, it takes years. Actually, it doesn't only take 1 or 2 years, but it takes years, like 10 years, to become that kind of person. Or yeah, Miss Laurie, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and that is evening time in your place. I feel very appreciated, and I feel grateful for what you have shared with us.
My pleasure.
Yeah,
Have a wonderful day.
yeah, and thank you so much everyone for joining us on our session today, yeah, our education session, and I hope to see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye.